Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever sat in your virtual cockpit, hands steady on the yoke, feeling like you've mastered the skies? You've nailed countless ILS approaches, greased landings in heavy crosswinds, and flown complex SIDs and stars without breaking a sweat. But are you truly ready for the ultimate test? Today, we are venturing into the digital world's most treacherous airfields, the kind of places where the margin for error is razor thin, and a successful landing feels like a monumental achievement. These are not your everyday destinations. They are the proving grounds for the most dedicated virtual aviators, designed to push your skills, your nerve, and your aircraft to their absolute limits. These airports, meticulously recreated in simulators like Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane, are infamous in the aviation community. They are nestled in deep valleys, perched on mountain ledges, or surrounded by unforgiving terrain, demanding a level of precision and situational awareness that goes far beyond standard procedures. Each approach is a unique puzzle, a complex dance between pilot, machine, and a hostile environment. It's here that hours of practice pay off, where a deep understanding of your aircraft's performance is not just beneficial, but essential for survival. So buckle up, because we're about to count down the top 5 airport challenges that will make your palms sweat. From the thin air of the Himalayas to the gusty shores of the Atlantic, we'll explore what makes each of these landings a heart-pounding experience. We'll analyze the approaches, discuss the specific dangers, and share the techniques you'll need to even stand a chance of a safe touchdown. And stick around, because our #1 spot is a legendary airport so notoriously difficult, it has humbled even the most experienced simulator veterans. Do you have what it takes to conquer them all? Let's find out, as we dive into the world's most demanding virtual landings. Kicking off our list at number 5, we journey high into the heart of the Himalayas. Tenzing Hillary Airport, Lukla, legendary for its danger. For many virtual mountaineers, this is the digital starting point. But first, conquer the landing. Lukla sits at over 9,334 feet elevation. Thin air degrades performance, engines produce less power, wings generate less lift. Aircraft feel sluggish. The runway is the most infamous feature. Runway 06 is just 1,729 feet, 527 m. Compared to 10,000 plus foot runways at major airports, that's tiny. There is absolutely no room for a go-around on final. Why? A sheer mountain wall sits at the runway end. Commit once, there is no second chance. The approach is purely visual, winding through deep valleys. Precise control is required, adjust for downdrafts and sudden mountain winds. Weather flips fast, clear to fog in minutes. One moment the runway is visible, the next it's swallowed by clouds. The runway slopes up nearly 12%. The upslope helps slow you, but creates a visual illusion on approach. Too high, you risk overshooting into the mountain. Too low, you risk clipping terrain before the threshold. In sim, this landing demands focus. Typically flown in STOL types, Twin Otter or Pilatus Porter. Be fully configured early, flaps down, gear down, approach speed, just above stall for the shortest roll. Anticipate mountain and weather moves, cross the threshold, cut power and pitch up to use the slope, then maximum braking and reverse thrust. The relief of stopping with meters to spare is real. Many sim pilots practice hours, study videos and memorize valley landmarks. Landing at Lukla is a badge of honor, but Lukla is just the start. Next up, an airport that forces sharp, precise turns moments before touchdown. Our next destination takes us to another Himalayan kingdom, Bhutan, and its only international airport, Paro. If Lukla tests your nerve with its short runway, Paro tests your precision with one of the most demanding visual approaches on the planet. Situated in a deep valley at 7,300 feet and surrounded by peaks soaring to over 18,000 feet, Paro is so challenging that only a very small, specially certified group of real-world pilots are authorized to fly here. In the simulator, you get to see why. There is no ILS, no VOR, it's all down to you. The standard arrival into Paro is a masterpiece of airmanship that feels more like a scenic tour of the valley if it weren't so incredibly dangerous. The procedure requires pilots to fly down the valley aiming for a specific mountain before executing a sharp 45-degree turn onto the final approach path. This isn't a gentle, sweeping turn. It's an aggressive maneuver performed at low altitude with mountainous terrain looming on all sides. Your situational awareness has to be at its absolute peak. As you descend into the Paro Valley, the mountains seem to close in around you. The visual cues are everything. Houses, bridges, ridges, you are literally flying by the seat of your pants. constantly cross-referencing your view outside with the approach charts. The final turn is the make-or-break moment of the Paro approach. You're low, you're relatively slow, and you have to bank the aircraft sharply while managing your descent rate. All this happens just a couple of miles from the runway threshold. As you roll out of the turn, the runway suddenly appears right in front of you. There is very little time to stabilize the aircraft. Turbulence is another major factor. The wind swirling through the valley can create powerful updrafts and downdrafts. This requires constant, proactive corrections on the controls, a delicate dance of power and pitch to stay on the intended flight path. Aircraft like the Airbus A319 are commonly flown into Paro in the real world, and flying a jetliner through these tight maneuvers in the simulator is a unique challenge. You have to think several steps ahead, initiating your turns earlier, and managing your energy with extreme care. The visual spectacle of the Paro approach is undeniable. Flying past ancient monasteries perched on cliffsides with the majestic Himalayas as your backdrop is one of the most scenic experiences in flight simulation. But the beauty is deceptive, masking the constant danger. Landing successfully at Paro gives you an incredible sense of accomplishment. It's about finesse, precision, and a deep understanding of a complex, three-dimensional procedure. Mastering the Paro approach in the simulator is a true mark of a skilled virtual aviator. But our next airport takes the challenge to a whole new altitude, literally, in the heart of the French Alps. For our number 3 spot, we leave the Himalayas and fly to the glamorous French Alps, home to the world-famous ski resort of Courchevel. But for pilots, its altiport is anything but glamorous. It's a terrifyingly unique challenge that combines high altitude, a ridiculously short runway, and a feature that defies conventional airport design: a massive slope. Courchevel Altiport, LFLJ, is a private airfield that serves the ski enthusiasts below, but landing here is the ultimate black diamond run for any pilot. Sitting at an elevation of 6,588 feet, Courchevel immediately presents the same high-altitude performance issues as Lukla. The thin air robs your aircraft of power and lift, demanding careful energy management. But what truly sets Courchevel apart is its runway. It is only 1,762 feet long, and its most striking feature is its 18.6% gradient. This isn't just a gentle slope, it looks and feels like you're landing on the side of a ski hill, because, well, you are. This extreme upslope is designed to stop aircraft in a hurry. Because of this severe gradient, operations at Courchevel are one-way only. You always land uphill on runway 22, and always take off downhill on runway 04, regardless of the wind direction. There are no go-arounds possible on final approach. Just like Lukla, the runway ends abruptly. The approach to Courchevel is another visual-only affair, requiring pilots to navigate a tight, winding valley. The final approach path is notoriously steep, and you have to fly perilously close to the terrain. There are no lights, no Popeye, no guidance systems whatsoever. You are relying entirely on your eyes, your judgment, and your knowledge of the procedure. In the simulator, approaching Courchevel feels completely unnatural. The steep gradient of the runway creates a powerful visual illusion. It looks so steep that your brain tells you to pull up, that you're coming in too low. You have to trust your instruments and your training, fighting your own instincts. The goal is to fly a stabilized approach down the valley, and then, at the last moment, aim for the very beginning of the runway to maximize your stopping distance. The landing itself is dramatic. You have to carry a bit of extra power all the way to the threshold to combat the high descent rate required. As your wheels touch the tarmac, the extreme upslope grabs the aircraft and decelerates it with incredible force. You feel like you're being pushed forward into your seat. Despite the short length, if you touch down correctly, you'll find yourself stopping with surprising quickness, often without even needing heavy braking. Taking off is an entirely different kind of thrill. You line up at the top of the slope, looking down the runway which seems to disappear into the valley below. You hold the brakes, apply full power, and then release. The aircraft accelerates downhill with astonishing speed. The challenge here is not reaching takeoff speed, but rotating at the correct moment. Rotate too early, and you might not have enough airspeed to fly. Rotate too late, and you'll run out of runway and launch off the edge like a ski jumper. Courchevel is a masterclass in energy management and precision flying in a high-consequence environment. It's a favorite among sim pilots who love STOL aircraft and the challenge of bush-style flying. It requires a different set of skills than Paro, focusing less on navigational turns, and more on raw stick and rudder ability to manage a steep, unstable approach. Mastering Courchevel is about taming the mountain, and it's an experience that will stay with you long after you've shut down the simulator. Leaving the high-altitude challenges behind, we now travel to the capital of Honduras, Tegucigalpa, for our number 2 spot, Toncontín International Airport. This airport is infamous not for its altitude or weather, but for its location smack in the middle of a bowl of mountains and its notoriously difficult non-precision approach to runway 02. For decades, Toncontín has been ranked as one of the most dangerous airports in the world, and the simulator allows us to see exactly why it has earned that reputation. The primary challenge at Toncontín is the terrain. The airport is surrounded by hills and mountains, forcing a circuitous and nerve-wracking approach. To land on runway 02, pilots must fly a VOR-DME or an RNAV approach. However, the final approach course is not aligned with the runway. Instead, pilots must make a sharp, descending 45-degree left-hand turn at a very low altitude to line up with the runway just seconds before touchdown. It's a maneuver that leaves absolutely no margin for error. This final turn is what makes Toncontín legendary. You are descending rapidly towards hilly terrain, and you can't even see the runway for most of the approach. You have to trust your instruments and your knowledge of the procedure implicitly. As you reach the final approach fix, a point in space defined by your navigation equipment, you initiate the sharp bank. You're low, you're close to the ground, and you're surrounded by houses built on the hillsides. The view from the virtual cockpit is both spectacular and terrifying. As you roll out of the turn, the runway appears abruptly. The runway itself is short for an international airport that handles aircraft as large as the Boeing 757 runway length, 7,096 feet, 2,163 m. At an elevation of 3,300 feet, this short runway combined with the hot and high conditions, increases landing distances. Pilots must touch down precisely at the beginning of the runway and immediately apply maximum braking and reverse thrust to stop in time. The psychological pressure during this approach is intense. In the simulator, you can feel your heart rate increase as you commence that final turn. You're constantly scanning your instruments, airspeed, altitude, descent rate, while also looking outside to visually acquire the runway and judge your alignment. The slightest deviation, a moment of inattention, can lead to a disastrous outcome. Banking too steeply could lead to a stall, while not banking enough will cause you to overshoot the runway centerline. Unlike our previous airports served by specialized stall aircraft, Toncontín was until recently served by major jetliners. Flying this approach in a simulated 737 or A320 is a true test of heavy jet handling skills. These aircraft are not designed for nimble, low-level maneuvering. You have to manage your energy perfectly, using speed brakes and careful throttle control to avoid gaining speed in the descending turn. It requires a delicate touch and a deep respect for the aircraft's limitations. The visual cues are critical. Real-world pilots talk about aiming for a specific gringo house on the hillside to know when to initiate the turn. In the simulator, especially with high-quality scenery, you can use these same real-world landmarks. It adds a layer of immersion and realism that makes the challenge even more compelling. You're not just flying a procedure, you're reenacting one of the most demanding arrivals in commercial aviation history. Even though a new modern airport has taken over most international traffic from Toncontín, it remains an iconic challenge in the flight simulation world. It's a perfect storm of a complex instrument procedure, a demanding visual maneuver, a short runway, and unforgiving terrain. It combines the precision of Paro with a unique, high-stakes final turn that must be flown perfectly every single time. It's a true pilot's airport, and it will push your virtual flying skills to their absolute limit. And here we are, at the number 1 spot on our list. This airport is so notorious it has its own name among pilots, the Carrier of the Atlantic. We are heading to the beautiful Portuguese island of Madeira, and its main gateway, Cristiano Ronaldo International Airport. What makes Madeira the ultimate challenge is not just one single factor, but a terrifying combination of high winds, severe turbulence, a complex approach, a runway built on stilts over the ocean. This is the airport that makes even the most seasoned virtual pilots sweat. Madeira is a volcanic island that juts out of the Atlantic Ocean. Its mountainous terrain dramatically affects the wind, creating severe and unpredictable wind shear and turbulence. Prevailing northerly winds are forced over the mountains, then tumble down towards the airport as rotors and downdrafts. One moment a steady headwind, the next a vicious crosswind or a sudden tailwind that kills your airspeed. The most common approach is the circling approach to runway 05. A straight in is impossible because of terrain to the northeast. Pilots fly visually toward the airport, then make a tight 180 degrees right-hand turn to line up with the runway. This is done low, over the water, with cliffs looming nearby. All the while, the infamous Madeira winds batter the aircraft. This circling maneuver is incredibly demanding. You must maintain a precise ground track while the wind constantly pushes you off course. Bank angle, airspeed, descent rate. In the simulator, you'll be fighting the controls the entire way. The aircraft will be bucking and rolling, and the airspeed indicator will fluctuate wildly. It's a battle of survival. The runway is an engineering marvel and an intimidation. Originally very short, it was extended with a massive platform supported by 180 pillars over the ocean. That extension brought new challenges. Landing with the ocean visible between pillars can be disorienting. Winds whipping around the structure create localized turbulence at touchdown. Go-arounds are a constant consideration at Madeira. The airport enforces strict wind limits. If the crosswind component exceeds limits or the tailwind component exceeds limits, landing is not authorized. In the simulator, you can recreate these conditions and see why go-arounds are common. Attempting landings even slightly out of limits often results in the aircraft being violently thrown around. Flying this approach in a heavy jet like a 737 or an A320 is the ultimate test. You must be aggressive yet smooth with control inputs, anticipating wind effects rather than just reacting. You'll use the rudder pedals more than ever to keep the nose aligned. Touchdown must be planted firmly to avoid skipping or being blown sideways. The combination of the difficult visual circling maneuver, extreme unpredictable wind shear, and the psychological factor of the runway environment makes Madeira the king of challenging simulator airports. It's a test of manual flying, decision-making, weather interpretation, and raw nerve. Many real flights divert to nearby Porto Santo when conditions are bad, and the simulator quickly shows you why. Successfully taming Madeira in the simulator is the pinnacle of virtual aviation. It requires a deep understanding of weather, aerodynamics, and your specific aircraft. The wind is different each time, so the challenge never gets old. For its relentless, unpredictable nature, Madeira is our #1 most challenging simulator airport. And there you have it, our countdown of the top 5 most challenging airport landings you can tackle in your flight simulator. From the thin air and unforgiving cliff face of Lucla, to the precision-demanding valleys of Paro, the alpine ski slope of Courchevel, the roller coaster turn into Toncontin, and finally, the wind-shear nightmare of Madeira. Each of these airports offers a unique and heart-pounding challenge that will push your piloting skills to their absolute breaking point. They are a testament to the incredible realism and depth that modern flight simulation offers us. Now the challenge is passed on to you. We've shown you the dangers and the techniques, so fire up your favorite simulator, whether it's Microsoft Flight Simulator, X-Plane, or another platform, and choose your aircraft. Pick one of these 5 airports, or be bold and try to conquer them all. Experience for yourself the thrill of that final turn into Toncontin or the fight against the crosswinds at Madeira. It's one thing to watch it, but it's another thing entirely to have the yoke in your hands and the fate of the flight resting on your skills. We would love to hear about your experiences. Which airport did you find the most difficult? Did you grease the landing on your first try, or did it take you dozens of attempts? Share your stories, your triumphs, and even your most spectacular failures in the comments section below. Your insights and experiences are what make this community so great. Thank you so much for joining us on this thrilling journey today. If you enjoyed this challenge, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the world of aviation. Fly safe, and see you in the next one.